Due to suggestive adult themes and dialogue, this podcast is intended for adults. In other words, the truth is ugly, so we get ugly right along with it. Everything we say is out of love for ourselves, our people, and our community. Sincerely, the Green Route Podcast.
And stop the damn dancing! Act like you got some goddamn sense, people!
Black people don't hope, we wish. We wish a motherfucker would be in our shit.
As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
Want to welcome y'all to the Green Route Podcast, episode number 25. I am GS.
And I am Marlissa. What's up, y'all? Welcome back.
What is happening? It's been some things happening.
Yeah.
Per usual, this week. This week is not any different, but this is post midterm election. Post the all the counts are almost in.
That's right.
So we're gonna see what happens.
Thank y'all too for rocking with us for our watch party. Like that was actually really fun. Like we might have to make that a thing. Like the commentary switching between where we were going from like one extreme to the other. So we were like MSNBC to Newsmax.
We found Newsmax.
And yeah, that shit was pretty fun. Like to see how the two were covering it. So plus we had drinks and the
wings.
devil's lettuce.
And the devil's lettuce.
So it ended up being a good time. So thank y'all for rocking with us. Yeah, we might have to find some more things like that to cover on a live type of deal.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I'm down for it.
That's cool. So all right, we jumping in?
Let's go.
All right, so first y'all, let's talk about the tech world. Like, so we've been watching kind of what's going on with Elon Musk and all his glory. But what's been interesting to me is kind of all these like mass layoffs that tech companies have had. So Elon Musk in particular, when he took over Twitter, before he even took over Twitter, he was saying that he was going to cut at least half of the workforce. There was also the number 70% rolling around. And so thus far, it looks like they've sent out emails to about 3,500 people out of the 7,000 employees that Twitter has.
That's wild.
Half of their workforce is gone. And what I'm hearing is that a good portion of these folks are in content
moderation.
Yes. So
monitoring.
Yes. So looking for that shit that drove the use of the N-word up, several 100% when he talked about taking it over. But then also these people are here to combat, some of the propaganda that we see popping up around elections and around like certain conspiracy theories. So we know that what happened was they sent out emails to about half of the workforce and said, hey, like you're being laid off. There are some class action lawsuits because in California, like you have to give a certain level, a certain amount of time, like notice before you lay somebody off. So he's being sued. But then what gets me is that apparently an email went out to certain people who had been fired saying, oh, actually, our bad. We need you to stay.
Our bad.
So now they're clawing back some of those like severance letters that they got. The other thing is I'm hearing that he's trying to figure out a way like not to pay people severance. So, when you fire somebody on the spot, like, it comes with a severance package.
It does. More
than likely. So when you work in big tech, if you've ever worked in tech, those compensation packages are hefty. So if we're talking about you making, say, $250 a year as a software engineer, plus your stock, plus whatever perks you're getting, you probably was getting like unlimited PTO. Like to think about what that package is worth in a year could very well be above $500,000. And so to have to like pay someone out for that is pretty crazy. So it may be that he's clawing back the highest like people who would be on the severance package list and saying, no, you just stay.
No, you just hang out for a little bit longer.
Kick it for a while.
Kick it for a while.
Yeah. And then we just found out also that Meta, Facebook previously is laying off 11,000 employees as well. And I just find it interesting because like, remember we were all excited about about what is it called, the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this man told us that we were gonna have he told us it was gonna be Ready Player One. We were gonna have these VR headsets.
I got mine. Don't get it twisted. I got mine. I love mine.
I think it's cool as hell, but I just don't think the technology is there yet. So for him to sell the dream, like, oh, we're all going to be meeting in these virtual spaces, and then for you to honestly gut the Meta program, a lot of that was the Meta program that was gutted. 11,000 employees. Like, what's next?
So with that point being made, it just reminds me of the main point that we're forgetting, that there's a difference in terms of the direction of this company, in the direction of companies in general. I wrote down here, we have to think about the goals of these companies and of these businesses. Okay. Is their goal to make change or make a little change? Is their goal to be prolific and change lives and give a voice to the voiceless? Or is it to give a profit to
the shareholders
who do have a shareholders and who have the real voice?
Yes. We know what it is.
So the point is, it's like being a part of this system with Twitter, it's no surprise that a lot of owners create these companies, these businesses with selling them in mind and getting out of it. That's what happened. I'm to be honest with you, I ain't 100% mad at Elon Musk, not 100%, only because that's the kind of person that he is. That's all he does. He invests in companies. Yeah. He invests in companies that he thinks that can make him money. Yeah. He's made a few decent investments and come out on top. I mean, that's why he's made so much money. So, but again, let's be clear here. Just because you're good at making money doesn't mean that you're an ethically, morally good person or sound person. Let's be very clear here.
Let's also be honest that Elon Musk is an accountant. He is not an engineer. I want to point that out to everybody. Like, he rebranded himself as an engineer and pushed the original founders of Tesla out to install himself as the head. So, like, while everyone thinking he's like this tech genius,
he's not.
He is not. That man is an accountant.
He had the money to invest, and he did. He's had the cushion to make bad investments so that he wouldn't, the same way as Trump. A lot of these rich folks who are investors. But that's my whole point. I'm like, with Twitter and the barbershop talk, and it's my last part. The barbershop talk about it is like, well, that's what he's good at. Business, like that's what he's supposed to be. So him cutting everybody means that this is his company. He owns it, so that's what he's doing now. He's making it into a more pliable business, which I was like, I don't know about that. Let me research. But I researched, and according to the research, Twitter has been considered for a long time a they call it a non-trending asset. Yes. Which kind of takes away the value of investing in it because you don't see the trends.
They haven't been profitable. Yeah.
Not that much. So. Yeah. I don't know. But
if it's going to be the town square, right, which is what he's saying, like, I think that him charging people $8 a month really pushes certain people out.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Because I mean, you know, $8 to me, you may not be a lot, but to someone who's just getting started and has really good ideas that probably should be heard by the world, like, maybe they can't afford it.
Exactly. And that's the bullshit part. That's the capitalist part about it. That's what he's on. He's about making a profit. Again, there's no moral compass leading Elon Musk. There's nothing, like, he's not trying to be prolific or he's not trying to be any of that. He's not trying to be that. He's trying to make a profit. That's number one. So
that's it. And he said he may take the company public again in the next 5 or 6 years. So I'll definitely be watching. Like, I don't hold any Twitter stock. I didn't hold any Twitter stock. I kind of wish I did and had gotten in early because I think he paid something like $54 per share. So I mean, the folks who had equity deals with Twitter, like if you were an employee with an equity deal, he probably made quite a few millionaires in the last week when they went private and he had to pay them out for their share. So so yeah, we'll keep watching. I'm interested to see what happens, and I'm interested to see if Trump comes back on the platform. But he said he's staying on Truth Social, so we'll see.
Truth Social. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you want to talk about the election?
All right. So the election. We've just dealt with the midterms. Everyone is saying that there was no red wave. There was no Republican takeover. Yeah. I guess historically speaking, usually a first-term president, usually within like the midterms following his first 2 years, usually he loses one or the other. That's what they said historically. But he was able to actually use his momentum, or I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, it's like a bunch of things, not necessarily. Maybe it could have to do with him. Or maybe it was just the fact that Republicans been so shitty. I don't know exactly why there wasn't a red wave. Not exactly. It's a few factors. But in the midst of senators, governorships being put out, of course, there's been legislation. There's been the change. So specifically, what's caught our eye is the fact that language within specific states' legislation still uses the word slavery. So 5 states, Oregon, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, and Vermont were the states that had that was on the ballot.
That's right.
Removing that language. Louisiana, being Louisiana, was the only one, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That did not pass.
That did not pass it. And a part of their rationale, I wish I had the specific words that he said, but he was just like, the changing of it. He was like, absolutely, that yes, there needs to be a change in language. He agreed. He went as far as to say that, but he said the change that was proposed would muddy the waters. And I'm like, what part of the waters being muddy having to do with, like, indentured servitude is one of those things. Indentured servitude, slavery, or if you don't say slavery, forced labor, there's nothing muddy about that. The only thing
that means free labor as punishment.
As punishment.
Like, let's be clear about what that means.
Forced labor.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I'm not sure how muddy these waters or how thick his glasses are. When he's
just
reading
say what
about
you want to
this.
say. Like, you are profiting, or your friends are profiting off of black and brown bodies being incarcerated.
Well, that's a part of it as well. The ACLU reports that the incarcerated produce over $2 billion in goods and commodities. Incarcerated also produce $9 billion in services to the institutions that they work for. So basically, if they were to give a value to the services they give in the prisons that they work, it'd mount up to $9 billion
per year.
Good
God.
$9 billion. So
wow.
if it's, instead of hiring the community plumber, the town electrician, they use their own labor. And it's like, the wild shit about that is what it does. It's like, why is the recidivism rate so high? And that was like, that adds a little more to that reason. Like, not only are they not rehabilitated, that's number one, but it's the fact that y'all are training them for jobs that can only be done in jail. So it's like, not only do I get free housing and free meals and, well, I'm not trying to make prison like that's like people want to go back to prison, but I'm saying that like they're not turning them into citizens for the community.
That's right.
They're making them just better prisoners while they're in there, whether it be through anger, violence. Maybe they're better in that way. I'm saying better in acting in those manners. Acting
no, that's real. That's
ways.
What you've known for so long.
Exactly, because you're in a system that kind of pushes like that culture. So you only get better at that.
Yeah.
And you only get better at the jobs that they give you in prison.
I mean, 34. We went to prison right now, we'd have a hard time because all we've ever known is freedom. So when you've been in the system, say since you're 14, 15, 16, and that's all you've ever known, imagine trying to go out and like deal with society the way it is outside of this echo chamber that you've pretty much been in for the majority of your life. And so I get that. Like, one of the most powerful scenes of Shankshaw Redemption for me was when those prisoners would get out and they didn't know what to do with themselves. Remember, he was working at the grocery store and he was like, "Hey, boss, can I go to the bathroom?" And his boss was like, "You don't have to ask to go to the..." But he's been in there for so long.
Being
he's just like,
institutionalized.
This is all I know. And so you're right. But I didn't realize it was $9 billion.
It's so in total $11 billion. In total $11 billion. That's again what they produce and the value of their services that they contribute to those prisons. So prisons, they've made prison like a legitimate ecosystem, a self-sustaining ecosystem, which is like really cool. Like y'all figured that shit out. That's actually dope that y'all figured out a way to kind of keep that loop going. Just sadly, it's predicated on the imprisonment of humans, the incarceration of humans. Like, how did y'all figure out?
And certain humans
make up a large majority of it. So it's just like all of that. So my last point to it is, we talk about prisons and we talk about slavery, even the use of words, forced labor, all of that. It goes back to that old Trump, when we talk about how white police officers or white people in power just use the harshest responses to black and brown men and women who've been incarcerated. Like, oh, they automatically have to get the harshest treatment, i.e. prison.
Yeah.
That's why when we have these conversations about the LA lady, LA city council member threatening the worst physical punishment to a black child, that's the root of that. That's why we have issues with statements like that.
Yes, definitely. One good thing that came out, a few good things came out. There were certain states that legalized recreational marijuana. So there's always good. But one thing that really stood out to me was Washington, D.C. They passed a law that phases out tipping. So like finally putting us on par with like other countries. Honestly, I was going to say Europe, but other countries kind of have a system in place where, no, I'm just going to pay people in the service sector a fair wage so they don't have to rely on tips. And so they've ruled out tipping, they phase out tipping, and it raises the minimum wage to $16 an hour for people who work tip-based service jobs. And so I love that. I want to see more of that around the country, because when I found out that like people in those service jobs are making $3-4 an hour and literally waiting on our tips to make their living, like that was crazy to me. So it's nice to see DC do it. I'm hoping that we see that in other places as well, because this is something we've been talking about at least for the last 5 years that I can remember. And all of us love to go out. That's the American way. We like to go out and eat. We like to be served.
Right.
And so to know.
Oh, I didn't think of that. You're right. That sounds kind of crazy.
Like, a lot of other countries, they cook a lot of their meals at home. But I think in America, like we eat almost a majority of our meals outside of the home now.
Gotta do better.
So yeah, think about the people who are actually making that food and bringing it to us and cleaning up those tables. Like they deserve a fair wage. And so to know this is happening, like made me feel really good.
My perspective on it is it's one of those things again that it should have happened a long time ago. So it's like we shouldn't really celebrate them doing what's right.
That's right.
But I guess I am glad for that it's actually finally happening in DC. The last time that the minimum wage was raised was under Obama in 2009.
Okay.
And he raised it to $7.25 an hour. That's back when times were simpler. Houses were cheaper. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, wasn't that far back?
2009?
2009 was actually before the boom hit. Before the boom hit, when things still, I think snack cakes were still $25. I think
we were still fresh out of the crash too. So that was 2007, 2008.
Yep, I graduated high school 2006. So it was like I was still in college.
Yep. So things were bad because all the banks failed. Right. Remember? And so shit was super cheap. But it was the mortgage crisis too. We found out that they were like offering these like creative, Ooh. So yeah. I mean,
should have got a house during that time.
So I mean, even then, to say in 2009 that the minimum wage was raised to $7, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was just then. And the issue again, our issue. I think I can speak for Mel on this one for sure. That we both agree that minimum wage should keep up with inflation. If things cost more now, 100%. Then the minimum wage should be more now. They should match. The problem is when on that chart that minimum wage stays about right here, but inflation continues to go up. Shit costs more, and it's like all these cities are experiencing it in the worst ways for sure. California, LA, San Francisco, New York. It's sort of getting to DC for sure. It's sort of getting to Dallas and a lot of these other cities. It's trying to get there.
When a lot of that is because people from the coast are moving here looking for cheaper lifestyles, but people who own the things know that what they're looking for, so they drive the prices up because they know they're coming with higher salaries. They're coming with like bundles of money because chances are I sold my house or my condo and like I sold that for $1 million, so I'm gonna buy this for $300. Oh, they got more money in their pockets now. Let me see how I can extract that. So it's all a game. It's all a game. Yeah.
So, all right. So, some of y'all have seen the clip going viral of the University of Kentucky student being assaulted by this thug.
She was assaulted.
This young lady is not in college. She's a hoodlum. She's a thug. She deserves the book being thrown thrown to her.
In her neck, if possible, just right here.
She verbally and physically assaulted this young black student at the University of Kentucky. Now, I wanted to address something I know that I have kind of went back and forth with people on. And for a lot of people, they're like, oh, if you choose to go to a PWI, you kind of not necessarily deserve it. Nobody's ever said that we deserve it because I went to PWIs. Was this someone that went to an
HBCU?
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't say we deserved it per se, but just kind of was like, well, that's when you choose to go to PWIs. That is that racial tension is something that kind of comes along with it. And I told him, you're absolutely right. It does come along with it. We do have to deal with issues on racial tension, bullshit, that energy.
Okay.
So I didn't disagree with them, but it was just one of those things where it's just was like, I think we kind of all have to get to a space to where no matter where we are, whether we at HBCU, PWI, community college, ICDC college, DeVry University,
that's all
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
Liberty.
Shit.
I don't care.
Kids and Tots Learning Center.
Goddamn. The Kids and Tots.
The local preschool. The preschool over there off Lancaster and Ann Arbor. But my point is, it doesn't matter where you are. If you are a black student, you should not be experiencing that. You shouldn't be feeling that. You should actually have the freedom to go wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
And function as a student. So
I agree. I went to 2 PWIs.
Right.
So I mean, like he said, not ICDC. Yeah, remember wasn't Bow Wow doing those commercials?
Bow Wow's ICDC college.
Like, what you doing?
What are you doing? You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, no, I agree. Like so coming from California, there were no HBCUs. Like I didn't grow up hearing about, a bunch of like Southern schools where, was like the Black Mecca. I knew about Howard. I knew about Spelman. But like it wasn't part of our culture on the West Coast. And so a lot of us ended up at PWIs. Like the majority of us, I would say. And I just don't see that as like an excuse for us being treated as other. So the first school I went to was a smaller state school, but they had a fantastic engineering program, Long Beach State. And I experienced it there because it's close to Orange County. And if you know anything about California, Orange County is Trump town. Like it's real. It's a lot of old money there, beach cities. Like it's very real. Then I brought my black ass down here to SMU and good God. I had never seen anything like that in my life. When I was at I was at Madison earlier this week, and they found out I went to SMU, and they were like, "Did you like it?" The kids even knew. The seniors knew, like, ooh,
SMU.
Coming from California, all I knew is that I wanted to go to a private school, a smaller school, something that was very different than the undergrad that I went to. It was a very large public institution that I went to for undergrad. But when I tell you SMU showed me without fail that they were not welcoming, that they didn't think that we belonged there. Now, I never had an experience like that, but the undertone was there.
Yeah, you know where you feel welcome there.
Yes.
You know the feelings that you get when you're in those spaces. So, so the sister who was assaulted, I felt for her, and like I said, I'm definitely glad that she's being open about what she's experienced. Now to the actual institution. At first, it was like, oh, she felt. They put out a statement about it, and at first they didn't expel her. At first,
that's right.
Like the first reports was like, oh yeah, she's taking off the rest of this semester, and
she like lost her job. That was the first one I seen.
She lost her job, and our first response was like, the fucking school needs to step up and
that's
fire her.
That's right, because this happened on campus. Yeah.
So eventually, we did some more research and found out that that's what that indeed is what happened. So we're glad that she's no longer a student. She deserves to go to jail for assaulting this young black woman and whoever she is.
And an officer. Did you see that?
And an officer.
There was a black officer who tried to arrest her,
Please. These are the miscreants that society has deemed unworthy. Deplorables. What are they doing amongst us? I don't know. But,
I'm going to just say it. Niggas.
These are just... These wiggers.
I like that. These wiggers is out of line. And I mean, the way it was coming out of her.
She was just so angry about it. And Mel, you said you had saw something about her friends.
Yeah. So her friends started like protesting, like, free Sophia. The system is rigged. Like,
there's video evidence. Oh, go ahead.
They were talking about her the way we talk about black men and women who get locked up for like nothing, right? Like the way that they flipped the struggle was crazy. And then they was calling each other nigga. Did you hear it? Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Her friends, but now it starts to make sense because so my grandma used to say like a drunk man don't tell no tale.
Absolutely.
She was drunk and maybe was on something, but what was coming out of her was in her. Mm-hmm. That's real. Like. Yeah. Some of the most honest conversations you and I have ever had is when we've been out Sunday fun day in under the influence, but it's never been no I hate you. Like it's always been love between us, which lets me know that like GS is my boy. Like I love him, right? Like because that's what comes out of me when like
basically when we don't have the mental capacity to check to do the checks and balances because of Douce or Crown Royale or whatever the case may be, we don't have that. We don't that filter isn't necessary because the relationship is genuine.
That's right.
So when you have a white girl like Sophia, her genuine relationship or her perspective on her relationship with black people, specifically black students, that's when the shit come out.
And it came out in full form. So so when we say tell me how you really feel, that was her telling us how she really felt. And I feel like, man, like imagine if we could get everybody drunk in this country.
And
right?
see what the fuck.
And just see what
you really got a problem. What's your real problem? Mm-hmm. Okay, but yeah, like I said, we're definitely thinking about our sister. We definitely respect that she was able to hold her peace. But if she would have beat her ass, if she would have just binked on her ass, because she could have slung her ass. Let's be clear here.
Blue, blue.
This sister did not look like nobody who could be pushed around. She was controlling the girl physically the whole time, and she really could have just mollywopped her ass.
And it was a bigger young lady that showed up too, who was like, I mean, she had to be at least 5'10", and I'm like, oh, you could, but the restraint those young women showed, I think speaks volumes to the way that we have to be often.
We feel like we gotta be, unless
because they knew, like, I put hands on her, I'm going to jail.
Right.
Like they, sadly, in college, they 19, 20, 21, they already know that I have to show a level of restraint because even though she talking to me crazy and putting hands on me, if something goes down, chances are I'm going to be blamed for this.
It's gonna be on me. So it's just like, and truth be told, when we saw her, like her, when she had a press conference and she was teary-eyed, she was very emotional. It made sense because that's what happens when we're in those traumatic situations or those anxiety-inducing situations. Sometimes we're just thinking about controlling it.
That's right.
We don't think about responding and thinking about being, giving it a certain violent response. We don't think about that a lot of times. It's not until afterwards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And truth be told, I think that's when it really hit her. But if that shit would have hit her, if that would have hit her in the midst of it, that girl would have got her ass whooped. She got her ass drugged.
With help. Because there were other people around.
Y'all done seen folks get stomped out. And if she was, let's be real, if she might have, had some experiences growing up in LA and South Central or in Oak Cliff or certain areas.
Without parents who prepared her for moments like this. Yes.
Let's be clear here.
Yes.
If she had developed the fight or flight sense that leans way more on the fight side in those situations, if that's how she had been groomed through her violent community, the violent communities that we come from, it would have been terrible.
Let me ask you, did your parents ever prepare you for the fact that the rules were going to be different for you?
Man, they didn't even know I was going to UT. I didn't even know I was going to college, so there was no real preparation. And then none of my people ever went to college, so that was that part. I mean, what they did train me for was just understanding like the police, and general whiteness in terms of white people in power, and how they normally respond to black people. So it was just like from their direct and indirect commentary, I learned.
You picked it up.
I picked it up.
Yeah, and mine wasn't about college, but my mom prepared me when I was a young kid, and crazy enough, Ooh, my family gonna hate me for saying this, and I see my sister is on the live. But I have cousins who are mixed, and me and my cousin got into it once, and my mother was the one who was just like, like the rules are different from you. For you, you cannot like behave the way they do because they have a white family too that can like help them in situations like this.
Right.
And I remember my mother having that. I remember where we were. We were at the California Science Center. I will never forget this conversation with my mother. But that's when she taught me that the rules were always going to be different for me for being a brown skin who, I mean, obviously black young lady, right? I'm not racially ambiguous at all. Like I either look black or I look East African. Those are the two. Either way,
very small
your
range
ass is getting
there.
whooped.
Very small range.
Either way.
So
I remember my mother having that conversation at the time. I remember thinking like why would she say that to me? But as I got older and I started seeing like, nah, she was right. The rules are actually different from you.
Very much so.
You. And that was my family teaching me that. Like me getting into it with my mixed cousin. And like realizing like shit. So this young lady, the restraint she showed, I'm almost certain that came from home. From training. Teach her parents telling her like in situations like this, you may be hurt, you may be angry, but this is how you behave. Because if not, they gonna see her as the victim,
right,
and you as the culprit.
See, my last point to that point had like I grew up with my grandmother had 3 girls and 1 son. Very much so hood, very much so gold teeth and all that. You know what I'm saying? The culture, absolutely. Our aunts would tell us, who most of them had boys, would tell us, don't let nobody put their hands on you. They told us to fight, pick up a stick. They encouraged us to be violent. I ain't gonna lie. They encouraged us to be violent. But I think it was because it was like, y'all have to protect yourselves. Y'all have to be, in a sense, men. Because we didn't really have any men around us like that. So that's what manhood was. They even told us, it was like, I don't care if it's a woman. I don't care if it's whatever. Whoever put their hands on
hands on her too.
You better put it, exactly. It was they, so I know for sure had she come from my household, there would have been a different response. She may or may not have killed the white girl. She might have choked her out. She might have did some wild shit. She might have got her face stomped in. But that's because, again, depending on your upbringing and your understanding of how you should function with respect to police and how they, respond to you, that's just how it is. Like, you have to be like that. But again, none of them saw us as going to a University of Kentucky. And they just talking like everybody in terms like this is the way it was. Anybody.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's a good point. Okay. All right, what we got next? The student loan forgiveness.
All right, student loan forgiveness.
So, long story short, y'all, it has pretty much been shut down by Fort Worth, a local, about 45 minutes from here.
We can go over there and protest. we can go over there and protest. We might have to just put a stage in or something, because stay out my motherfucking business.
Stay out my bank account. What do y'all... Okay, so... I try not to be a conspiracy theorist. I really do. Oh, I got it. But the timing is feeling too much like right to me. We had talked about that this was something that the Democrats were going to hang their hat on for the midterms. Like, hey, don't forget, we was able to get you student
loans.
But it was paused right before midterms, right? But it was like, hey, continue to submit your information. Once we get past this point in court, you'll be good. And then a Fort Worth judge, I believe it was Supreme Court judge though, right? Pretty much shut the whole program down and was like, yeah, that's a no. Wrap it up. I'm trying to figure out if this was always the plan and the two sides were in cahoots to get certain votes for the midterm, or if this is just genuine happenstance.
Wait, you're saying that them stopping it would be more votes for the red side?
Well, no, I'm trying to figure... So, I'm talking about the blue being on some bullshit.
Oh, so you're saying like them just saying like, yeah, guys, we can do this, knowing damn well that Republicans can and actually have a legitimate argument to shut it down?
Yes.
Could be. They could definitely be like, they not gonna fuck with... They know what that side is. or they have an idea, because that's just a conversation. That's just hey, we got some stuff down the pipeline. Forgiving student loans, it's a big thing. It's a part of this platform. We need your help. We need your assistance. Fuck no. But fuck no, because X law, Y law, Z law, we actually have precedents to stop this from happening. So they might know, even if we push for it, they're going to stop. So you might be right. It might be some fuckery.
I can't call it because the timing was for this ruling to come out right after midterms.
So he might have. I mean, let's be clear here. Biden and Strom Thurmond were cool. Biden has been a long advocate of reaching across the aisles to racist.
Yes,
outward racist. Verdict is still out. We're not sure if he's still racist or not. We're not 100% sold on one way or another, to be honest. But we know that he does have relationships, and you're right. It could have been something that was a political ploy. It could have been, but I think that, to be honest, the only reason why maybe I don't think so was because they probably would have come out sooner to stop it. Because if they knew they would have been able to use it as momentum, they probably would have come out sooner to put the water on it.
Okay,
that's my opinion. That's if it was there.
My sister mad because she don't never cuss, and she done hashtag fuckery.
What was she dreaming about?
This a Christian woman right here.
Look. First of all, sister, we would lay hands. That's Niecy. What's up, Niecy? What's happening?
When my sister start hashtagging cuss words, I know it's real.
Yes, we all need to win lotteries. We all there. The 1 billion. Somebody won it, right? Somebody won it
from Alameda, California. Niecy, go find out who that was. We become friends. That's a cousin.
Alameda. How far is Alameda from LA?
So Pasadena, Alameda. So
okay.
25, 30 minutes.
25, 30 minutes.
North.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So okay. So I mean, so right now, y'all, what they're saying is everything is paused because of this Fort Worth judge. What Biden is saying, and at least his press secretary is saying, is that she said, "I'll be a side chick." Get them loans forgiven, I guess so.
Damn, sell my body. No, I'm just
show a little leg outside.
Look, y'all. Look, baby. What you need?
Let me tell you, we sell it.
Be a young stud.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not knock on wood.
All right.
But yeah, so what they're saying is things are paused right now. But what his press secretary said, and kind of one of their one of their latest press conferences was that Americans who need the forgiveness should continue to submit their applications because they do plan on fighting this in court.
Okay.
So we'll keep watching to see exactly what this fight ends up being. But my issue with it is we can bail out corporations. We can send money for wars. We can use taxpayer dollars for everything except for helping people who fund those taxes. And that just baffles me every time. Y'all don't mind sending missiles over to Ukraine, but something that would actually help a young person who can't get married or buy a house or buy that new car because they have this student loan payment, that's too much to ask.
It's one of those things where it's logically, in the right kind of world, you would expect for them to want to support people who are pursuing a higher education because we all know that a better educated population leans itself to less violence,
yes, Lord,
less criminality, less bullshit. A more educated population usually does lead to that.
Yes.
But that's the problem with a more educated population is that they're better at picking out bullshit. And again, a lot of these corporations thrive.
I never thought about that.
A lot of these corporations thrive on bullshit. We think about on the local level. We think about the check cashing industry. We think about all these predatory lending situations. Just as a poor person, all the bullshit entity companies that benefit from you being poor and not knowing anything. That's what I'm saying. That's what we're protecting. Even as you become older, hell, even as you make more money, there's still a certain level of predatory systems that surround you. You just probably have more money again to bounce back from. So the overall point is this: the reason why they don't want to give us, they don't want to pay back our loans and make it life easier for us because there are just too many companies that benefit from stupid, uneducated, And again, let's be clear here: stupid and uneducated aren't
They're
the same
different,
thing.
yes.
There are people who are legitimately stupid,
And that deals with intelligence.
and that deals more with intelligence. Let's be clear here.
Uneducated is information.
Uneducated is informational.
Yes.
So let me make sure they want us to be. If we are stupid or unintelligent, they want us to remain that way. If we are misinformed and miseducated and uneducated, they also want us to stay that way.
That's right.
Again, they benefit from that. The system at large benefits from it. So
Damn. So, okay. I just, hey, she said, speak, boy.
thanks.
100%. So, one thing that I think I talked about this, like, you know, we've partnered with Dallas Free Press to run a journalism program at 3 high schools in Dallas. So, I was at Pinkston today, and this was our first class. And one thing we talked about was them developing critical thinking skills at their age. So I had I had some freshmen. I actually had the whole range. I think I was missing juniors, if I'm not mistaken. But freshmen, sophomores, and seniors. And we start talking about topics very similar to what me and GS talk about on this podcast. And I start telling them, like, y'all need to have more of these conversations when you're young, because that helps to develop that critical thinking muscle. So that when you're my age, you're not one of these people who's out here falling for the okie doke because, like, propaganda has got you. And so I was telling them, I was like, y'all, you don't have to go to college.
Right.
You really don't.
You don't.
Read books and travel. Go meet people who are different from you. Read people who have different ideas from you. But then also read people who have the same ideas as you, because they may have a different perspective. And so I think you're right. Had we invested in education, we'd be in a much different place in this country. But that also means that certain people wouldn't be able to
Get over on us.
pull the wool, yes, over certain eyes. And so anyone who listens to this show, I feel like we've been telling y'all, like, the sources that we look at for news, the places that we go, the people that we talk to. Like, I try to read at least a book a month, and not on no, like, self-help shit, like genuine, like, literature and novel type stuff, because it expands your mind and it stretches you. It's like lifting weights. You only gonna get stronger if you lift heavier.
Right.
So the heavier you lift, the heavier you read, the heavier you travel. Like, you just get better at thinking through the human predicament and the human situation. And I think our country has lost that, because everyone is in a chamber and on one side of the spectrum at this point.
They honestly, I don't think they ever had it. I don't think America ever
you're right.
ever figured out how to create a space in which good ideas rise to the top, in which ideas are shared. Like, it's just never been power, information, money has never been put into spreading of the right kind of information or helpful information. It just hasn't been. It's like the communicative aspect. They just never learned it.
That's real.
They tried. Actually, you know what? They do it, but within, again, those echo chambers that you were talking about, those conservative think tanks, when we talk about how the Proud Boys and how all these white supremacist organizations are connected and it's coming out, they're very well organized from the top to the bottom.
The way they spread information is fantastic.
So again, they know how to communicate. They know how to mass spread information. Now, whether the information is right or not, or correct or not,
yes.
But they figured out that, and on our side, kind of what you're doing in the classroom, that we need to learn how to do that amongst each other.
That's right.
So that the good ideas can now start to rise to the top, and that's the thing that spread, not the conspiracy theory shit, not the
something you
shit,
can't prove,
not the shit that, well, what we need to do is not any of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, we going to the last
one. Let's do it.
All right, so some good news.
Positive.
We had to end it with some positive because, you know, American fuckery. Y'all, Black Panther II is here. Ryan Coogler and all his brilliance, his weird introverted energy, like, I'm just so excited. So we posted a post yesterday, I believe, and it took a minute because, you know, we were covering election stuff. But if you are not aware, we are to garner ourselves in all white.
Yes.
To remember Chadwick and all the other ancestors that we have lost since 2018, which is when the first Black Panther came out. So, you know, I have lost 3 people since then. So they are part of my, my ancestral kind of cosmic crew now, plus Chadwick. So I'm going to see it tonight. We're doing our little pregame at the Canvas Hotel rooftop.
That's gonna be fun.
I wish Gabe was coming, but he got to go make that money and like give the vibe. So bring me a bottle of wine.
I got a DJ tonight, so
get us a bottle of wine.
I got us. It's going to be a dope experience. Again, what Black Panther has been, to me, it's been one of the most positive reconnecting for Black people, like in terms of like the culture. There are different ways that we reconnect to our culture, reconnect to our roots, via Juneteenth, via, you know what I'm saying?
Which was a vibe this year. Y'all went all out for Juneteenth 2022, boy.
This is how we do. So it's just like there are just certain occasions that are starting to that we've already done in the past, but there are things that potentially could be added to it.
That's right.
And Black Panther's becoming one of those culturally significant things. Now, will it end up getting the Juneteenth status? Maybe not. Will it get to that? Maybe not. But does it have a potential to become something bigger, to evolve into something bigger? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious to see how that's going to turn out, how that's going to happen.
So I saw some posts from yesterday. People went to see some of the first showings yesterday, and like to see them and they're all white with the gold jewelry and the sneakers. I was like, yes, Black people, yes.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong. And we need more occasions, honestly, where we can just get together.
That's right.
Culturally connect with one another.
That's right.
Put on some garb, our nice garb, our fine linens.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We need more culture affirming occasions. I'll say that. You know what I'm saying? Positive culture affirming occasions.
And for those, one thing that I loved about Juneteenth this year in particular was that for the first time, and I think George Floyd actually had a lot to do with this, because I feel like 2020 was the first year that I saw people who I had never seen celebrating Juneteenth celebrate. Shout out to my mother, who made sure that we knew what Juneteenth was about.
True.
Like she made sure of that. But a lot of people didn't grow up with parents like that.
Yeah.
And so I realized especially on the West Coast. So Juneteenth started in Texas.
So yeah, we've been doing this since.
If you from Texas, you know what it is.
I've always said this to Mill, that I didn't even realize that people outside of Texas didn't know what Juneteenth was. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Texas, when you guys hear the story of Juneteenth, that really stems in Texas. They were the last to find out that they were free. And that was because like Texas had kind of broken off and succeeded and was like, hey, we don't really want our folks to know.
We were the last ones to find out.
Yes.
And then in terms of it took them still 2 years after that.
That's right.
For it to actually be acted upon.
That's right. So when you hear about this, especially from being from the West Coast, like, I don't know about y'all, but I've always been very proud of the stock that I am made of. Like, I'm gonna say this because I don't work for nobody no more, and I can. Y'all take a shroom trip every once in a while.
Take one.
I got to meet the stock that I am made from. And when I met them, I understood why I was so scrappy, why I always didn't take no shit, why my mouth is the way that it is. I was like, oh, if these are the people I come from, that like this shit is in my blood. Like that makes sense. And when you find out like the resilience that your ancestors had to have to be here. And we know that like GS is like is mixed. But even then, like both sides of your family, like to think of what your bloodline is made up from, I am always very proud of that. And so when I watch people try to make a culture or make a history that like, because they're ashamed of coming from slaves, fuck that. Yes, my ancestors may have been slaves, but they were rebels. They were still out here like learning to read and write. I found out from that shroom trip, and I believe it to be true, that like I come from a person who was a teacher. He was an intellectual. Like his mind was beautiful. And I'm like, oh, okay, like it makes sense now why my mind works the way that it does. Like that's super cool. So when I think about our culture, I'm always proud of it. I'm always proud that I'm made up of the people that I'm made up of. And I realize now that like there are really no bounds to what I can do. Like if I got these people in my corner, I'm good. I'm Gucci. And so Black Panther has always reminded me of that. That like from the homeland to the journey to even being here for generations. Like we are made up of very powerful, amazing, creative, intellectual people who were survivors, and they had to figure out how to outsmart the people in control
who had the power,
yes.
who had the government behind them, who had the guns.
You wonder where code switching comes from. That's not because we have to do it. That's because we know to get what we want, it's something that we can do and use as a tactic. So like for me, I love it. And I actually look at people who are like trying to make culture. You hear about these Black Hebrew Israelites. It's like, y'all don't have to make up some shit. Your culture in itself is beautiful and it's powerful and it's amazing. So I feel like that's what Ryan Coogler, a fellow writer, has captured. And I love it because he merges the homeland with those of us who are lost, who have been stolen. And like if you watch the first one, Killmonger, a lot of us could resonate with him, right?
That was always an interesting think piece.
Yeah.
Why did we register more with, and the thing about it is, what I loved about Black Panther, even in that part, was the fact that so many of us resonated with Killmonger, but we still had love for Chadwick. Like we didn't think of him like,
because it wasn't his fault. He didn't know.
And it goes kind of more so to, like, in my opinion, like the cultural historical context of this idea of good and evil. Like Black people historically have never necessarily been like, oh, something is evil. Like in that way, it's just like, no, everything is usually served as a balance, like one to balance out the other. And we think, and truth be told, that's kind of what Killmonger represents. That's why we never again could be mad at either one. But that's right. Some different philosophical,
good writing,
cultural.
That's good writing.
Perspective.
Right there.
Yeah, great writing for sure. But yeah, y'all. One, I need them shrooms. Two, the same one, so I can tap in back in with my peoples. You know what I'm saying?
Called
need new... that specific strand.
Shit, what is it called? Indie Penis is
okay.
So right. For Ave and Ant, if y'all got it, my boy needs y'all.
Okay. We gonna tap in.
That's the new one. But yeah,
we are again, we are glad about Black Panther 2 coming out. We are glad. We're looking forward to everyone being adorned in their all white. Yeah.
Get your sneakers right. Clean them shits
right.
up.
Let's do it. Let's come be with the fam. This is a family event.
If I see anybody with silver on, I'm going to feel away. You better put your gold on and stop playing with me.
This is a family affair.
That's right. So we'll be at the, if you on live right now, we'll be at, what's the theater we going to tonight?
Just look at Alamo
on Cedars. We're going to the 1045.
Alamo Cedars. Yeah.
But we're also going to pregame at Canvas Rooftop, right across the street from Alamo. So at 9:00, Dallas Weekly, Green Rock Podcast, the network will all be there kicking it. And I believe Urban League is doing an event right before that. So you'll see a bunch of us outside in our all white and sneakers and gold, ready to do it. And GS has to work, but that's okay. We'll send them pictures.
I will be at the opening for a Black-owned wine company called Wandry Wine. It's a beautiful couple. My friend Whitney and her husband, they started a wine line. I love it. Tonight they're going to be on Shark Tank pitching it. So we're going to have like a big watch party. We're going to eat, drink, all of that. So it's going to be blackness.
Yes.
Black excellence
all around.
Whatever you want to call it. It's going to be culture. It's going to be us just in two different spaces.
We vertically integrating, y'all. We are vertically integrating. Like, no lie. I want it to be so that we can control our culture and recycle our dollars the way we want to, when we want to. Not have to pay for someone to sell our culture back to us. So exactly. I love to see it. And that's all we got. You got anything else?
That's about it. I like that point about dapping, though. You're right. Black soldiers created dapping as a form of communication during the Vietnam War because of the racist treatment they received.
Yes.
Absolutely. I believe that. I didn't know that, but I can believe that for sure.
Jay Wood is actually a veterin. So, it's today? Wait, today's Veterans Day.
It's today?
I think it's today, right? Or something. What's going on today? I think it's Veterans Day.
Is it? Okay. Well, I want to send a special shout out to all the Black veterans who held it down and, did what they needed to do, who had to fight 2 wars.
That's right.
Or a war on 2 fronts.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Home and away. So shout out to y'all.
All right, good shit. Okay, if you want to give us our let's check in.
Check in. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good now. I've kind of been overwhelmed, having a lot of business, a lot going on. But I think I'm going to Mexico next week. So yeah.
What part of Mexico you going to without me?
Let me find out. Let me fly. I think we're going to Playa.
Who is we? You and baby girl?
Yeah, buddy. We have a wedding to go to. A wedding, friend of ours wedding. So it's gonna be fun.
Cool. You're welcome, J Bug. Thank you. Like for real, I learn a lot from you all the time.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you. No, I love that.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've also been crazy busy. You know, I have realized very quickly that a lot of things I was focusing on focusing on the show. Like all those things kind of stem from what we're doing here. And so I've just been thinking about like, yeah, if I like focus on the show more, all these other things kind of fall into place. So just FYI, if y'all don't know, like our whole goal and what will happen, I'm speaking it into the universe right now, is for us to make this like a late night political commentary show where, you know, real people talk about real shit that's going on. We offer good, resourceful information to our people. And so everything that has entered my life since I've left corporate America has been in line with that. And so I'm so grateful. And what's crazy is like I'm busier than I ever was when I was in corporate.
That's how it goes.
But at the same time, I'm like, this is what I asked for. Yeah. And so I'm grateful for it. So yeah, I'm good. I got no complaints. I'm just really happy to be in this space with you guys and be able to like use this gift to write and, you know, talk shit on microphones to help our people. So yeah, I'm good. No complaints.
No complaints.
Cool. You gonna give us our benediction?
All right, y'all. So
I say the one.
All right, y'all.
Nobody
So
asked, but I need a massage. Nisi, I'm gonna send you a massage. That's what you don't know. You wait. It's coming in your inbox. I got you. I know. Look, my sister, y'all, she's like amazing. She has raised a family. My niece is about to graduate. That's crazy to me. Like, but also she took care of my mom, y'all. Like when my mom got real sick, like people be giving me sympathy and I'm like, nah. Like I wasn't there for the worst of it. You know what I mean? And so yeah. Like it,
you gotta give that credit and that honor.
Absolutely. Like so I appreciate you, Nisi, because yeah, you were there for the worst of it. So I got you. I'm on it.
Let's make it happen. All right, y'all. So in the midst of what we dealing with today, we have layoffs. Times are slipping away. We have
times are slipping away. Come on, that's scripture. I think
scripture. That's somewhere in there. We have questions of our elections, and even the election parts ain't got shit to do with the progress of our people. It's still stuck on language. We have our sisters being still targeted for being who they are. That's still happening. We have all kinds of things that are being held up by these little foxes, these little vices, these little men with these little egos. That's the
call them out, GS.
That's the permeating idea of the week. But we will persevere. We're gonna put on our all white because we winning.
That's right. Always.
So, let's keep the win going. Win's going. The winning going.
That's right. Y'all get out there in them gymnastics and on that ice skating because I see y'all taking over and you know they're going to be mad. So just like continue to backflip and do cool shit.
Let's keep it going.
They could never. All right. Well, we love y'all. We appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. Like, share with your people. Tell them that we be drinking and smoking weed and cussing and talking about politics. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
We'll see y'all.
All right.
Peace.
Sunshine, sunshine, tell me where you are. 'Cause I need you to get me through my life.